Hi, my name is Nora Gelprin. I'm the Director of Sexuality Education and Training at Advocates for Youth. Thanks for joining me as we review how to conduct effective condom demonstrations. So, most people ask why condom demonstrations are so important. We actually have a lot of good research that's showing if we don't specifically teach this skill to young people, they're a lot less likely to actually use condoms or use them correctly. So, this is really critical for us to teach our students. We also know it can be really challenging. It can be controversial because we are teaching a skill. It can be controversial just because we're actually showing condoms in the classroom. Some states even have laws preventing or regulating the distribution of condoms on school property. And we also know that this is the lesson planner activity that is most often skipped due to this controversy. But there's some specific tips that we can all follow that might make things a lot easier. First, it can really be helpful to check with your supervisor to make sure that your district has a policy that would support you in doing a condom demonstration. You want to make sure that you've got some backup here. It can also be really important to check what your state or your district sex ed policy is to make sure you're in alignment with it. Make sure you have models and materials that reflect the range of skin tones of your students, so you're not just using a Caucasian or a white penis model when you've got students of varying colors in your classrooms. And lastly, make sure you talk about ways to prevent sexually transmitted infections or diseases for people who don't have a penis involved in any of the sexual behavior they're going to choose to engage in. So that would be things like latex barriers, like female condoms too, called FC2s, or dental dams. Here are some steps to using an external or a male condom correctly. I'm just going to put them on the screen one at a time, not going to review them with you. I have a feeling they'll be pretty familiar. But we use this specific set of steps intentionally to make sure it's not too many, while it does include those key ones like making sure you check the expiration date, making sure the condom is put the right side up on the head of the penis, making sure it's rolled all the way down, and that you hold the condom as a base before you withdraw the penis from a partner's body. Let's also review steps to using an internal, sometimes called a female condom, correctly. These are some of the steps involved as well. Sometimes people haven't seen an internal condom, so it's always important to make sure to pull one out and let them see what it looks like, and to show how it's inserted all the way to the back of the vagina so that the interior ring holds it in place by the cervix and the exterior ring protects the skin of the labia on the outside. There's some other important things to mention when reviewing condoms with your learners. One is that you always want to make sure to use only water-based lubricant because the oils will break down the latex. Also, you never want to use two condoms at once. There used to be a myth that if you used two, you double bagged it. That was more protection, but we know that they're actually less effective due to friction. You want to make sure you use a different or new condom with each different sexual act. Also, want to make sure to be familiar with the fact that a female or an internal condom can be used for anal sex as well. You just remove that interior ring. You don't need to be a certain age or have any parental permission or consent to buy condoms. Anyone can walk into any store and legally purchase condoms. That's an important thing for our learners and our students to know. We also know there's lots of ways for teaching how to use condoms correctly. These can include a really common activity called a condom lineup. Either the whole class or small groups or some teachers competing can take the different steps on different cards and try to put them in the right order. You can have some fun and do a relay race with those cards and try to get them in small groups and see who can come up with the lineup correctly first. You can also use online games from sexetcetera.org or use a video like the one from amaze.org. Here's that game from sexetcetera.org where you take the different steps and you drag and drop them into the right order, and when you do it correctly, then you get to see an animated condom lineup. There's also this video from amaze.org about how to use condoms effectively. As you can see, it's about a 3-minute video. It's fairly humorous, lots of fun. It can be another good substitute when you're not able to actually show a condom demonstration in person in class. Finally, some considerations to keep in mind. You want to make sure your anatomical models and the things that you're using for demonstration match the skin tones of your students. You want to make sure not to assume that all of your students will engage in a sexual behavior that even involves a penis, to make sure that you would show other latex barriers and other ways to protect yourself. And lastly, to make sure you don't assume that everyone who has a penis identifies as male and not everyone who has a vulva identifies as female as well, to make sure that we're inclusive of our students with varying gender identities. So I hope these tips have been helpful to you as we review how to use condoms and do our condom demonstrations correctly and effectively.